we were wondering, do you have a daily rate at the moment?
I do, yes. It's 10,000 sterling.
This is Seoul, home to the headquarters of Hanson Consulting, a South Korean company with plans to expand into the UK and Europe. And this is Soo-yeon Lee, the company's Vice President of External Affairs. She's trying to recruit British MPs to join the company's International Advisory Board and has been conducting job
I think it's obviously 10k a day is like a crazy sum of money, but you've got to understand that these people are being paid £10,000 for like 6 days of work or 10 days of work per year. Obviously an obscene amount of money. Like that's literally half my yearly salary for a day's work. But those days' works basically consist of going to a Zoom meeting where they say, oh, so these are all the different things you want me to lobby for. Oh, okay, I will agree to lobby for you. Here's 10 grand, please. Value for money. That's the scale of their wealth. An entire week is worth more than an entire year's worth of salary. And I think you'll find that Kwasi Kwarteng and Matt Hancock, they definitely contribute 52 times more to the country than I do. Definitely 100%. And so this is money that was well spent. You know, the meritocracy works, people.
interviews on Zoom.
Can you see me?
No, I can't see you yet.
There we go.
Hello?
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, hi, how are you?
What these MPs don't know is that Hanson Consulting doesn't actually exist. It's been in...
Again, just going to point out, literally every single MP, you earn £80,000 a year before all of the dirty money that you get from elsewhere. You can afford a ring light and a decent fucking camera.
entirely made up by led by donkeys. It has no headquarters, there's no advisory board, no clients, no money and no staff. Oh, and Soo-yeon Lee is an undercover reporter.
I'm Anthony Barnett, and for many years I've been investigating the financial interest of politicians of all main parties. I was approached by Led by Donkeys to help them conduct an experiment after the recent scandals over MPs and their second.
I once met a senior civil servant from the Department for Education. Their description of Gove left me rolling around laughing, not a good look for a taxi driver. I remember when Michael Gove was on Sunday with Laura Kearnsberg, when they were doing like that car crash interview with Liz Truss during that whole meltdown. And they called him like a veteran, new centrist MP from the Conservative Party. And I was just like, this is the bizarro world that we're living in, where Michael, the wrecker, Michael Gove, notorious Islamophobic conspiracy theorist, Michael Gove. Actually, not even the theorist. He was the one who spread the conspiracy by publishing lies in the Trojan Horse Report. Isn't that funny? How he is suddenly supposed to be the beacon of rationality amongst the Conservative Party, parliamentary party, which is, it's not a great look, is it? It's hardly like a glowing endorsement of the Parliamentary Conservative Party.
Jobs. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, when people need their MPs more than ever, would a serving member of Parliament still consider taking a job furthering the interests of a foreign company on top of their constituency duties? And how much would they want to be paid?
Second jobs have been in the news a lot in recent years. The Owen Paterson scandal shook.
A ring light, a decent camera, and some integrity towards their constituencies. Now, unfortunately, you cannot buy integrity with the money that you get paid from your MP's salary. And if you are a Conservative Party, Conservative Member of Parliament, then having integrity towards your constituents is against the interests of the party at large. So, I'm making my expectations of Conservative MP is very fucking low. Ironically, Michael Gove does kind of look like some a construction made out of felt. So, I wouldn't be surprised if someone did mistake him for being a punching bag, quite honest.
The House of Commons. Former Attorney General Sir Geoffrey Cox faced criticism for earning hundreds of thousands of pounds working as a lawyer. And then Matt Hancock took a six-figure sum to go into the jungle. Even Rishi Sunak said he was outraged at that, throwing Hancock out of the Conservative Parliamentary Party.
I've been very clear that I was very disappointed with the decision he made. I think there's lots for us all to be getting on with at this time, and that's what I think people should be focused on.
It's not against parliamentary rules for MPs to have second jobs or third jobs, and there are no restrictions on how much they can earn. In fact, some claim MPs having second jobs brings important experience into the House of Commons.
mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that argument, right? It just depends on what their second job is. If it's working for a management consultancy firm who basically only exists to take public money to be able to do MPs' jobs for them in a manner that benefits the capitalist class, then no, I don't think that's relevant experience. If you are, for example, I don't know, a doctor, for example, or someone who has worked up as being a union shop steward or something like that, I think that would be relevant to your theoretical job as a member of parliament.
But a clear majority of the public think it's wrong for serving MPs to also work for private companies. And while successive governments have promised action on MPs' outside interest, little appears to have changed. Dozens of MPs now earn lucrative fees from second jobs, and as long as they don't lobby for those that pay them or provide paid parliamentary advice, they're not breaking any rules.
And I think that's the problem. Like, what constitutes lobbying, right? Is it, for example, lobbying for literally any amount of private money to get paid into the Conservative Party's coffers, when every single part of Conservative Party policy is constructed such that it benefits the private sector? Like, that technically isn't lobbying, because the Conservative Party were going to do it anyway. The private sector just helping them to get elected, for example. Is that lobbying? Well, not within the rules it isn't. I mean, do I think that that's bad? Yes. So who cares? Like, the rules are not the issue here. The issue is the actual morality of what's happening. Street cleaner, nursing assistant, factory worker, all these would offer real job experience. Well, exactly, 100%. And then we might have a government that legislates on behalf of the people that do the actual work in the society, rather than an incredibly small minority of very rich people who get to control not only where our public money gets spent and who gets elected, but the entirety of the public discourse, because these are the people who control the entirety of the media.
Maybe that's the problem.
Now led by donkeys wanted to know if the recent backlash around MP second jobs had changed anything.
There was only one way to find out.
First, we needed a name for our fake business. We chose Hanson Consulting from South Korea. We knocked up a website describing ourselves as a boutique advisory firm providing tailored and holistic consultancy services, whatever that means. And then we added some testimonials from non-existent clients who wax lyrical about how brilliant we are at doing whatever it is that we do. Then we paid a few £100 for a fake virtual office, and just like that, Hanson Consulting was formed. It just needed some British MPs for its International Advisory Board. We scrutinised the Parliamentary Register where MPs list their financial...
Yeah, exactly. The literally obvious bullshit. I mean, it is definitely good work that they're doing here. And it just shows like how genuinely dumb the MPs here are. Let's be real, right? This is actually where the real story is. The story isn't that they're breaking some kind of rule, because they clearly aren't breaking any rules because the rules are bad. It's not telling us anything that we didn't know already, because we all know that these people spend the entirety of their time taking second jobs, and this is regardless of party as well, right? And this doesn't cover all of the political donations they get from elsewhere that isn't actually for their position as some kind of second job, right? Private interests can just throw money at the campaigns of political party candidates that they happen to be in favour of, and that's not a quote-unquote second job, yet as far as I'm concerned is way worse. This isn't actually exposing any kind of corruption at the heart of any of what's going on with MPs' interests, for example. But what it is exposing is that these people are genuinely stupid. They genuinely were taken in by a completely fake company who said they would pay ridiculous sums of money to them. And then they were like, oh, I'm not going to bother scrutinising what this company even is and what it says that it's going to do, with the obvious nonsense they've put on the front of the website, like the made up quotes or whatever. You'd have thought after the escapades of Boris Johnson, the Conservative Party would know a fake quote from a real one. But that's the real exposure here, is that the MPs are not just bad people; they're also very dumb.
Interests, and we examined their track records. We approached 20 MPs in total. Because the vast majority of MPs' outside income is earned by Conservative members of Parliament, we contacted 16 Tories, 2 Labour, 1 Lib Dem and 1 independent MP.
It's worth pointing out that the independent MP here is Matt Hancock. So this just shows, I mean, obviously they are correct, and if you were going to stratify it that way, the vast majority of people who do have second jobs in the Commons are Conservative MPs, but it's not over 75%, over 80% of them in this case, because they've contacted 20 MPs and 17 of them are Tories or ex-Tories. Like, come on, come on. Yeah, the whip removed.
We emailed asking if they were interested in joining our international advisory board from April as we expanded into the UK and Europe. We said we wanted them to attend 6 board meetings a year in the UK, Europe and South Korea, in person or virtually, and to be available for one-off meetings. And we made it clear we wanted them for their political backgrounds to provide expert insight to help our clients navigate the shifting political, regulatory and legislative frameworks in the UK and Europe. We sent the emails to their parliamentary offices.
That's actually an interesting thing that they've done there. That's an interesting thing that they've done where they've specifically tried to tailor their request such that it is showing their position specific to be as we would like access to MPs so we can use the inner MP's knowledge to specifically benefit our private business, right? That's the key. Actually, it's better than I expected. For them to literally be going to them and saying, we would like insider info to make our business perform better in comparison to other people who don't have their insider info. Can you help us do that, please? Now, that's an actual piece of journalism they're doing here, rather than just saying, yeah, MPs have second jobs. Well, who knows, right? I'm surprised they did that, actually. That's good to see. Doris and JRM have full-time media jobs, and Hancock can't even go to Australia for a week. You're right, Kev, how you doing? Are they stupid, though? If someone offers you a big heap of cash for some bullshit job, wouldn't you take it? Even if you thought they were shitting you, it's not like one of the Nigerian prince things. They'll lose nothing other than a couple of hours. Well, I guess. But, when it's this obviously bullshit, this kind of stuff, like it actually being a sting operation, which is basically what it was, surely that must have cropped up in their thoughts, right?
Sat back and waited. 12 MPs didn't get back to us, 2 politely declined, 1 expressed interest and went quiet, but 5 were interested enough to find time in their diaries for an exploratory meeting.
And soon enough, we were conducting job interviews with some well-known faces keen to work for our fake foreign company.
We would like to talk about arrangements of fees. I mean, do you have a daily rate?
Yeah, I mean, a yearly rate.
Yes.
I mean, I would say, as an MP, obviously I don't need to earn a king's ransom, but I would do anything less than for about $10,000 a month.
I mean, literally, that's how out of touch these people are. It's like, well, I don't need too much money, but what I do need is 6 figures a year, right? That's the minimum that he'll go for, is 6 figures a year. To literally be in the top 1% of the earnings of 1% of earners in the country. I believe it is. I think top 1% is like 125,000, I think it is, but top 5% at the very least. That is his ballpark figure for not being in a king's ransom. Surely the first thing you do is search for the company and press releases from other companies. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Check out, I don't know, the person who is interviewing you on LinkedIn, perhaps?
Dollars or pounds?
Well, pounds sterling.
Sterling's, okay. 10,000 pounds a month.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds...
What sort of ballpark are you looking at?
Actually, we were looking into... I mean, this is just a number that's in front of me. I put it down in my memo, so I'm just looking into it. So actually, we were looking into 8,000 to 12,000 pounds a day.
Yeah, okay. How many days a month is that?
I mean, we have 6 board meetings, but it's just that
Okay.
there will be
So
more days back and forth. So
yeah, we're not a million miles off. Yeah, okay. I mean, 8 to 10,000 a day. That's fine. But I'm thinking if there are 12 days that I do a year, that's 12. That's the numbers we can work. We can work with the numbers. But
okay.
but yeah, 8 to yeah.
Hourly rates, maybe. I mean, do you have any number in mind that you were thinking?
Well, around 1,500.
1,500?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have...
Yeah, here's what the weather percentiles match up for hourly for yearly rates here. Like the top percentile is £133,000 or more. So he's not far off. He's the top. The top 2% of earners in the UK. That would be for £120,000 a year. And this is stats from 2019. So this will have shifted up by some amount there. So between 100,000, 130,000, something like that, is going to be the top 2% of earners is what he'd want. That's his cutoff for not being a king's ransom as an MP, right? On top of the 80k that he already earns, making him in the top 4% currently. Oh, I just closed the video that we're watching. Go.
With plans to expand.
Where were we? Kwasi Kwarteng talking about the money that he wants to earn.
I do a year. That's 12. That's the numbers we can work. We can work with the numbers. But
Okay.
but yeah, 8 to yeah.
Hourly rates. Maybe. I mean, do you have any number in mind that you were thinking?
Well, around 1,500.
1,500?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a daily
Holy
rate?
shit, it's Graham Brady. He's head of the 1922 committee. So literally, I mean, he's somebody who's far more important than disgraced independent MP Matt Hancock. Does Kwasi Kwarteng get a chancellor's pension? I believe that he does. Because I know that Liz Truss definitely does.
Rate in mind at this case?
I don't know about a daily rate. I suppose seeing your approach and the kind of expectations you'd have, I was thinking something like £60,000.
£60,000. Oh,
As an annual rate.
okay.
If
That's
you
certainly.
think that's far too cheap, let me know.
Over the next few days, join me and Led by Donkeys.
Yeah, Graham. Let's not lowball them at £60,000 a year. I think he voluntarily passed up to avoid controversy. Well, thank Christ. I'm glad he did. The full interview with Kwasi Kwarteng is out, by the way. Ooh, we'll definitely watch it. We're almost finished with this.
As we reveal what those 5 senior MPs said in their job interviews with Hanson Consulting. Interviews in which they expressed interest in becoming well-paid board members and attending company meetings in the UK, Europe and South Korea.
Sir Gavin Williamson turned us down during the job interview, but the 4 other MPs had all been happy to go forward to the next stage.
Well, particularly if I'm going to Korea, I'd expect to be compensated for that.
Yes,
But,
definitely. We will arrange all
yeah.
the compensations and all that. So
Yeah, it's very brass eye, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 10,000 a day, and I'd invoice it each. I wouldn't expect a regular retainer, but we could do it that way as well.
so £10,000 a day.
Yeah.
Right, let's watch part 2. For hire, the former chancellor. Let's have a listen. They really are interested in a career. True.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
Great to see you.
Just over 6 months ago, Kwasi Kwarteng was Chancellor, launching a mini-budget that would send the economy into a tailspin and see mortgage rates shoot up.
But I'm not going to cut the additional rate of tax today, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to abolish it altogether.
Mr Kwarteng was sacked in October, but remains a prominent Conservative MP. Now he's about to have a job interview with Soo-yeon Lee, Vice President of External Affairs at the South Korean firm Hanson Consulting, for a position on the company's International Advisory Board.
Because I'm in my secretary's office now, I just had a problem linking in with my.
He must think at some point, going, "Hang a minute, I'm the guy who resigned in disgrace after crashing the economy, and people are looking to me to be on an advisory board for a private company. Potentially, maybe I'm not a great person to ask for this particular piece of advice.
My computer, but we're okay, good to go now.
Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, how are you today, sir?
I'm very well. I'm sitting in my office in Parliament, reading some very interesting information about not only geopolitics.
Geopolitics. It's an
Well,
interesting.
Ukraine and Russia and all that, and also the energy crisis.
What Mr. Kwarteng doesn't know is that Hanson Consulting doesn't actually exist. It has no clients, no money and no staff. And Soo-Yeon Lee is an undercover reporter.
I'm Anthony Barnes and I've been an investigative journalist for more than 20 years, and Led by Donkeys approached me to help them conduct an experiment. Would serving MPs still find time to take on another job furthering the interests of a foreign company during the cost of living crisis?
Well, this guy's the founder of Open Democracy. He still thinks he did the right thing just too quickly. I mean, that's the issue, though, right? Is that, you know, whether or not that was something that, in a long-term plan, they would want to do or want to have as a particular policy platform. The fact that, you know, he can't be trusted to do the right thing at the right time just shows how pathetic, how like, even if they do genuinely believe they wanted to do the right thing, surely, if they were this competent at running the fucking country, they would wait until the correct time to do it, or not do it too quickly. Obviously, it was the wrong thing to do regardless. But, you know, even if it wasn't potentially not going to crash the economy, it still would have made the country worse anyway. Literally so much of politics, especially British politics, is explained by people genuinely believing they are built different. Well, that's true, 100%. Like, great man theory is really endemic to huge amounts of the upper echelons of our society. Because, again, we are far more class stratified than somewhere like the United States is, for example. Like, so much of this is just an in-group, out-group based upon who you knew, who you know, where you grew up, what schools you went to, what universities you went to, right? I know I bang on about it all the fucking time, but that's just the case. It is just entirely an in-group, out-group of people who are in the same social circles.
We wanted to know how much time the MPs would be prepared to make available to that company and how much they'd ask to be paid.
It's not against parliamentary rules for an MP to take a second job, or a third, or a fourth job, nor is it against the rules for them to work for a foreign company, and there are no limits on what they can earn and how much time they can spend. And maybe that's the problem. Certainly, a clear majority of the public think it's wrong for serving MPs to also work for a private company.
We've been trying to build up this board who has both politics and also business background as well, because we need to know where the wind is blowing. We need an expert who knows more about the policy regulations into the sectors that we've been investing in.
Mr. Kwarteng tells us why he thinks he's the right man for the job.
But I'm very pleased to talk to you. I mean, I've been a business and energy minister for 3 years. I was treasurer, chancellor. I've got a lot of experience.
Oh, so I got the wrong Anthony Barnett. Actually, it's not the guy from Open Democracy. It's the guy who's worked for Dispatches, which is pretty good. So it's better content that we usually get from Led by Donkeys. But neoliberalism thinks that people will just find a way to continue participating in society, and so putting more knives in their guts is helping them streamline through. Yeah.
Yes.
In the UK. But also I was talking as energy minister. It's an international field, as you'll appreciate. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to my American counterparts, my German counterparts, my French and Italian, G7. And so I can tell you exactly where I think things are in Europe.
Mr. Kwarteng suggests the Tory whips will allow him to attend board meetings for our foreign company.
So first I will need to, I know in my email I've mentioned that there will be 6 board meetings throughout the year, 1 in South Korea and 5 in Europe. And just wanted to make sure that your availability as member of parliament, do you think that's something?
I could do that. I'm very flexible.
Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, it's just that we weren't really sure of the British political processes, so we wanted to make sure.
I'm a senior politician, got a majority of 70. Mm-hmm. I can work. We have whips, I'm sure you do in Korea, but I can work with them to make sure that as long as the meetings don't require like a whole week, mm-hmm. I'm sure I can make that work.
I'm sure I can balance the £80,000 a year that I am paid to represent my constituents in my role as a member of parliament, which is what I might literally get paid to do as my main job. I'm sure I can balance time around that to go jaunting off to South Korea however many times a year for, 150% of what I get paid to do my actual real job that I am employed by the state to do.
That sounds promising to us. Thank you. And also, we might ask also one-off meetings depending on the urgency, like the pressing issues that
Sure, I get that.
we need to discuss or decide at hand. So will you be available for those as well?
I should be, but you know, obviously they're whole meetings. In all seriousness, I think you seem extremely professional, and I would be very interested to see what you have to offer in this regard.
Okay. I mean, regards to one-off meetings, it will mostly be over a call, Zoom call, virtually. So
Zoom, I can do a Zoom call at a minute's notice.
okay.
Mr. Kwarteng then explains why he's uniquely qualified for the role.
I've had a broad experience of business and finance, also international, given my cabinet level experience.
I campaigned for that job, by the way. Did a whole election to secure it too. Yeah, 100%.
The fact that I was Energy Secretary during the Ukraine crisis, during the energy crisis, and I also, briefly as Chancellor, I looked at the challenges of public finance.
Briefly as Chancellor.
So I would say, you know, my generation in the UK, there are very few people who've had the breadth of experience that I had.
Yeah, I wonder what the culmination of your experience was, Kwasi. I wonder if people's mortgage rates are particularly have any particular opinions on the experience that you've had in public policy making. I wonder, Kwasi. It's true, he was a government minister during the Ukraine crisis. Please don't ask him why he's not a government minister now.
Across business and politics at the highest level, there are probably 2 or 3 people. And you know, none of them that I can think of had anything like the energy experience I've had. I was an energy minister for 3 years as a junior minister and also as the cabinet minister.
Yes.
So I've had just to sell myself, I've had a really broad experience of energy, of public finance, and also in the corporate sector when I was younger. That I think I can contribute to any board discussions in a helpful way.
I mean, given your expertise and your experience, you're only one of the few that really has those business and political backgrounds that really.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Business and political.
I mean, if he's in a safe, what even is a safe seat at the moment, right? The polls go vary wildly between 25-point and 10-point leads. There are no safe seats anymore. Literally any seat is up for grabs as far as the political calculus is concerned right now. We don't know what's going to... in a year and a half's time, Rishi Sunak might have been able to competency his way back to only being slightly behind in the polls. Or Reform UK might be building a gigantic wellspring of populist support against them, meaning that there'll be this gigantic right-wing vote split between the two of them. And maybe that this time in a year and a half's time, everyone will hate Starmer and there'll be like 4-way races for different seats. No seat is safe anymore. The political landscape has changed wildly. Although, if I was Kwasi Kwarteng, I would retire and actually be unscrupulous in a way that doesn't affect the public purse. I think Labour could lose the next election if Rishi can style it out. 100% I agree. Because Labour aren't building the case for people to vote for them. Exactly. The only public support that Labour are getting is telling people that they are not the Conservative Party, whilst doing everything that Conservative Party do. So yeah, there's no reason anyone would want to support Labour other than voting against the Conservative Party. They don't want most of the money; they want all of the money from Steph Sterling. Yep, 100%. I couldn't put it better myself. Although what I will say, obviously, I'm glad that this person's been employed by Led by Donkeys to do this investigation here. But I would point out that in 2017, 2016 even rather, this guy was given a journalism award for his Dispatches documentary called "The War for the Labour Party," where he was covering how hard left Trotskyists were plotting to take over the Labour Party when that was never a thing that actually happened, right? Like, there were just some left-wing groups who were pro-union, who wanted Labour Party to actually be a left-wing party again and represent its...
Because I'm literally a communist.
Thank you for the follow there, much appreciated. Welcome to No Justice Stream. To actually revert to its position as being a democratic social democratic party rather than being a neoliberal party. I think in the blurb for his Battle for the Labour Party documentary, they were talking about it's being it's being infiltrated by people who are anti-austerity. Yeah, they should be. It's the Labour Party. Of course, it should be anti-austerity already. That's not interests. Oh dear.
Background that really understands the sectors that we've been investing into. We are really willing to pay the right level for the right person. So we will.
And it really just shows how liberals fundamentally believe that their ideology should be superior, is superior in general. They believe in the supremacy of their own ideology, such that they think that other people wanting to see different kinds of politics espoused within a mainstream party outside of the incredibly narrow Overton window of what liberals think should be the only permitted discussed policy platforms. And then they absolutely throw their toys out the pram and go, oh, I can't believe people might want to join the Labour Party to see anti-austerity politics. As a sensible liberal, I believe that these people should never have any ability to be able to have their particular policies reflected in any mainstream political party. And the idea that they may be in the future, that's terrible, that's terrifying. Oh no, we can't have the Trotskyists involved. There's a majority of 18,000. Well, it seems unlikely that's going to get overturned, but you never know.
Like to talk about arrangements of fees. I mean, do you have a daily rate?
Yeah, I mean, a yearly rate.
Yes.
I mean, I would say as an MP, obviously I don't need to create, earn a king's ransom, but I would do anything less than for about $10,000 a month.
Dollars or pounds?
Well, pounds sterling.
Sterling's okay. 10,000 pounds a month.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds.
What sort of ballpark are you looking at?
Actually, we were looking into. I mean, this is just a number that's in front of me. I put it down in my memo, so I'm just looking into it. So actually, we were looking into 8,000 to 12,000 pounds a day.
Yeah. Okay. How many days a month is that?
I mean, we have 6 board meetings, but it's just that.
Okay. Yeah,
there will be
more,
more days back and forth. So.
Yeah, we're not a million miles off. Yeah. Okay. I mean, 8 to 10,000 a day. That's fine. But I'm thinking if there are 12 days that I do a year, that's 12. That's the numbers we can work. We can work with the numbers. But yeah, 8.
It just shows you like just how spectacularly different the lives of the people within different classes in this country are, right? And that fundamentally the vast majority of people in this country who will earn lower than £30,000 a year, because that's the median wage in this country, so half the country earn less than that every year. They were working 40 hours, 45 hours a week, something like that, to earn the same amount of money that Kwasi Kwarteng thinks he should be entitled to earn for, 2 days of work in a year, 3 days of work in a year, out of 12 full days, to therefore earn enough to put him into the top 2nd percentile of wage earners in this country. It's a different world these people live in, and the money that people make in the top of the pie under neoliberal capitalism, they make money fucking hand over fist. And the rest of us saying, oh, we literally cannot afford to live, right? It's called the cost of living crisis. And this is really the expose here. Obviously, the MPs are all stupid and stuff like that, but people should be thinking, right? It's very It's very easy to put yourself in, put it out of sight, out of mind, right? And go, there's no pressure on people. I don't need to have to think about them. I just need to concentrate on myself and what I'm doing. I'm like, no, we fundamentally need to restructure the way our society works so that this shit can't happen, right? It's unreal to me, literally unreal to me, the idea of earning £100,000 a year. And that's not even a high wage. There are, the boss of Centrica he gets £700,000 a year as his salary, and on top of that, got £2.5 million bonus off the back of all the money that we're paying in extra energy bills because of the cost of living crisis, right? When you compare it to what Kwasi Kwarteng is being paid here, obviously Kwarteng's looks like pittance, but then again, this is for 12 days of work theoretically a year, and this is the kind of money that these people do earn. Honestly, it blows my mind. It really does. But the reason people can't afford houses is because of their one-off Costa Coffee a week and the Netflix subscription and their plasma flat screen TV. Definitely isn't the economy being fucked toward people who can just land 10k a day from a job in politics. Exactly, 100%. And also gets 2 houses and all his bills paid, and food and other deductibles, and then the bar, and he gets to get wasted in Parliament for free. And that's on top of the fact that he was on the advisory board to a hedge fund owned by a guy who betted against sterling just before Kwasi Kwarteng crashed the pound as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we would definitely will be willing to pay the top of the range. So.
Okay. Well, it's particularly if I'm going to Korea, I'd expect to be compensated for that.
Yes, definitely. We will arrange all
yeah.
the compensations and all that. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm 10,000 a day, and I'd invoice it each. I wouldn't expect a regular retainer, but we could do it that way as well.
So £10,000 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
We mentioned that we'll soon be in Britain.
And also, regards to setting up the meeting, I mean, we're basically trying to meet the right person for the right occasion. Yeah. So is this also something that you would be able to help us with?
Yeah, I could help you a bit. I mean, obviously, you know, we'd have to have a relationship, but you know, you seem like a really intelligent, pleasant, and easy to deal person.
Later, talk turns to Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson is the best campaigner you will ever see.
Wow, I mean, we're hoping to meet him someday, maybe.
I'm sure you will. I mean, we're still.
That's true. There is a lot of alcohol on his back shelf. Do you think he just went and crashed the economy and then just got wasted afterwards?
Look, I'm sure we could try and arrange that.
Oh, sounds good. I mean, I'll let him.
I'm not pressing anything, but he's someone I know. He's a great guy.
Okay.
And then we begin to wrap up the job interview.
So I've got a very international.
And also, just like position your camera correctly. Your head is literally at the bottom of the screen, so much so if you lean forward, like it cuts off your mouth. I'm sorry, Kwasi. Learn how to position your camera correctly, as well as buying a ring light.
Perspective, I would suggest, given my energy experience and also given my...
This is Secretary's office. I missed that bit. I wasn't paying attention. So it's all the people who work for Kwasi Kwarteng have to get drunk to ensure that they can actually deal with working for him. Either that, or they're all in on the game. They're all happy, all the kind of stuff that goes on. And they do so little work that they've got so much of their spare time to be able to get drunk. I mean, we saw that at number 10 during lockdown. True, Mithril.
My own family background, and I think it would really fit. I mean, the more I speak to you, I think it would be really good for us to pursue this kind of relationship.
So, so far in our conversation, I believe that this position itself is something that you're interested in.
Yeah, I'm interested in it.
Okay, so.
I think I do a good job at it. I think
yes.
In terms of interest, I think I'd be very well placed to help advise you.
We said our goodbyes and told the former Chancellor we would be in touch shortly. During the entire conversation with Mr Kwarteng, he never once mentioned his constituency duties. We asked Mr Kwarteng for a
Why would he mention his constituency duties? That makes no sense.
Statement, but at the time of publication, we had not yet received one.
I mean, like the actual interview itself, I mean, it didn't really illuminate any further than what we already knew. But yeah, just... MPs are money-hungry bastards. What a surprise. And this, again, I want to make sure everyone is clear on this. This is across all parties. This is not just for the Conservative Party, although they are the vast majority because of where their interests align. But the Labour right are just as bad, almost as bad as the Tories when it comes to this kind of stuff. And actually, the one of the MPs who got the most amount of political donations, for example, in the Westminster accounts, was a Sinn Féin MP who doesn't even take their seat in Parliament. In a sense that he never mentioned how he needs to balance his other jobs with his constituency duties. Well, yeah, I guess so. Although he did say about making sure they had enough time to go to Seoul or wherever it was. Anyway, let's go back to Michael Gove.
All right, have a really busy show this morning, so let's crack straight on, shall we, with the first interview. Just a few moments ago, we spoke to the Levelling Up Secretary, Michael Gove. Before we start on the antisocial behaviour stuff that I know you are keen to talk about, I just want to get your reaction to the sting, the undercover expose by the anti-Brexit group led by donkeys, Matt Hancock, Kwasi Kwarteng, among other MPs, saying that they would work for a fictional company for £10,000 a day. It's within the rules. Does that mean we should care about the rules?
No, I think it's important that, first of all, that we make sure that every MP operates in a way which is transparent. So when members of Parliament do work which complements the work that they do in the House of Commons, then it's absolutely vital that we know who's paying them, what they earn, and that's what the register is there for. I think it's also appropriate as well that the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner has the opportunity to investigate and to look at any activity that may cross the line. On this occasion, I think it's pretty clear that things that were offered and things that were considered were within the rules. But inevitably, all of us will reflect on this and think the first duty of a Member of Parliament is towards their constituents. And ultimately, the really important thing is an MP delivering for their constituents? Is a Member of Parliament doing everything they can to put public service first?
Is the other issue that they didn't seem to do much due diligence on this company, did they, given that it was non-existent?
Well, again, the individuals concerned will have to answer for themselves. It is the case that there are members of Parliament who do work for a variety of organisations that complements what they do. So, for example, Maria Caulfield, Health Minister, also works as a nurse. Dan Poulter, previously a Health Minister, works as a doctor. So it is possible to combine additional activity with your responsibility towards your constituents, but each individual MP must judge for themselves. Is what they're doing...
Yeah, but you're being asked to comment on this particular story, Michael. Do you think that this is warranted from these MPs? And you're immediately deflecting while going, well, actually, there are some really good MPs, but these MPs have to speak for themselves. No, give us a prescription, Michael. Do you think that this was a reasonable thing for them to be able to do? And your only answer is, well, it was within the rules. It's like when people who say heinous shit go, well, I should be allowed to say it. I'm like, okay, right, you've made that prescription. Was it good? What are these things good or not? Make the case for whether or not it's good. Again, because you cannot make these people are completely immune to any kind of normative position. I think second job should be banned without exceptions rather than the other way around. No, fuck it. No, keep it 80k and still no second jobs, right? If they have extra parliamentary expenses, that's what the current expenses plan is for, right? If they need to have money for office and staffing costs and things like that, or for their second home to be able to travel to Westminster with, right? Then that's what the expensive scheme is there for. They don't need more than £80,000 a year. In fact, Nadia Whittome of Nottingham East, she gives away £40,000 of her salary to charity. If she, who can both live in Nottingham and also work in Nottingham as well as being available to be able to go to Westminster at the same time, can afford that on half the salary their other MPs earn, then they can be happy with their £80,000 a year. The pension's very good also. Yeah, 100% exactly. We already pay their bills, security and wages. If that's not enough, don't campaign. 100% simple.
Something that they can defend? Are they making sure it's transparent and within the rules? But above all, is it the case that they're putting their constituents first?